Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I'm going to work on a reel I haven't worked on in about 15 or 20 years. And quite honestly, the problem it's got, I can't even remember how to resolve it because I don't remember the setup. This is a Shakespeare Sigma. It's the 2950-245. It was produced by Shakespeare as a competitor to the Ambassador line. It was an affordable reel, very well made, inside and outside chrome rings, nice chrome spool, level line mechanism. This one's in need of some service, hasn't been serviced in a while. And Evan sent this one in because, well, the backstop isn't working all the time. So I'm hopeful that this has got one of those pinch-fingered dogs, and maybe we can just kind of reset that and keep this reel fishing again. So this one was made in Japan. That usually means 50s or 60s. We also have a weak spring here, so we'll see what we can do. Well, we're going to do this by taking off the exterior pieces to get started. And as we do, I want to thank our first responders and essential personnel and everybody involved in keeping us safe during the pandemic. Uniformed services of fire, rescue, police, EMT, as well as everybody in the essential services like transportation, and all, of course, in the medical fields and the like. Thank you for what it is that you're doing. We're going to take the handle off with the screw. Now we're going to take the star adjuster off, and because we don't have that backstop, this one you may have to hold the spool to do that. And we'll see what's going on here. I notice that the shaft is still turning there, so I'm going to use the handle as a wrench to continue to back that off. So even though that handle looks like a pen handle, it's got a square insert to it as opposed to the rectangular shape of the pens, and you can't interchange those handles as much as some folks may want to. Alright, taking care of that. The drags on this look pretty good. One way to tell if the drags are okay is you need this ferrule on the gear shaft to extend, the silver piece, to extend beyond the housing. If that's inside the housing, your drags are going to be worn and you're not going to be able to get the reel functioning properly. Alright, looks like we have a bunch of side plate screws. Let's take that out. And this is one that's kind of critical that you take pictures. If you haven't worked on a reel like this in a while, if you don't have the schematic for that reel, well then pictures are going to be the only salvation you have if you get lost along the way. So don't trust your memory. I know that it's failed me from time to time, and I would recommend that pictures as a memory assist will help. You'll notice that I'm kind of putting those screws onto the desk right now. I don't know if they're all the same size. The three on the outside are the same size, but these two often are shorter. And they are. So the two that go into the reel seat are shorter, and you want to remember that in terms of reassembling the reel. Let's take that last one out. There's four. Let's see what we can do here with the side plate. Well, the reason this is flipping is because we have a spring that's become detached. That hopefully is easy enough, and I'm going to find out in a moment what this anti-reverse dog is doing over there. In the meantime, I'm going to put all of those pieces that I took off into a parts tray. It's the bottom of a milk jug, and it's a good place to put everything so that you know where to find it when it comes time to reassemble. Just going to take a quick look over here. It's got a lot of dirt in it. Dirt's best cleaned up by just a little bit of time and attention. I'm going to use a cotton swab, and while I do this, I'm going to suggest that if you like these kinds of videos, please subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe, hit the notification button. That way you'll get a chance to see everything I'm working on. I work on all kinds of reels, saltwater and freshwater, bait casters, spinning reels, trolling reels, everything along that line. And you'll be able to determine which ones you want to watch, and that'll help get you situated for that. There's a piece that's rolling around in here. I can't tell if it's grease or not, so looks like it's gone. Probably was a little bit of grease. Let's find out what's going on this side here. As I mentioned, this thing is loose. It's loose because the spring isn't working properly. But that's not the problem. The problem was the anti-reverse dog. So we're going to take that middle spot off here. And this is the anti-reverse dog. It's kind of stuck in there. That anti-reverse dog, this reel, my guess is, was made by Olympic, because that's kind of the anti-reverse dog for that. And I don't know if we have a spring. This is mounted incorrectly. I don't know why that's where it is. So this is very much an Olympic reel for Shakespeare. It's very similar to the Olympic Dolphin. And right now, I don't think I have a spring for that. So we may be in trouble. Let's go ahead and take the other one out. It may be that we find that spring in here. Maybe somebody just didn't know how to set it. They're not an easy set for that spring. And one more and we'll be able to push this through. I cup my hand when I take these pieces out, because if there's anything loose inside, like that dog, I want to be able to capture it and not have it shoot away. So just take your screws out and then pull back on this. There's the spring over here. And I think it's actually functional. This is what we were looking for before. So it's a little bit of a mess, but I think we'll be able to work with that. So if you have an Olympic Dolphin reel, well, play along, because this is very much the Olympic Dolphin reel for Shakespeare, at least internally. So if you have a question on this reel or any reel in particular, and you would like to get some more information, for example, maybe you want to know about the Olympic reels, that's always a good thing, just leave it in the comments section. I will try to answer it for you, and we'll do our best to give you the answer to help guide you. Maybe it's when were they made, how were they made, maybe you have a question mechanically about how they were made. I'll just leave it in the comment section. I'll try to do my best to give you an answer. If I know the answer, I don't know the answer to all of them, but I know the answer to a lot of them. So we got to reset this spring, and I'm going to guess that the spring lodges in this little V-neck here. So you got to do two things. You got to get that spring into the hole on the eccentric. Then it's a balancing act. You have to find that corner. That's where it looks like it came out of. Then you have to align that into your hole. Now the problem that we have with this is you have to set tension to that. And to set tension to that, push on this. You'll see this is coming through. You're going to have to rotate this in a reverse pattern. So you can grab it with the part coming up, then find the equilibrium point. That's where you'll have some balance, and you can flip the lever around to the other side. And it is a balancing act. Trying to hold it so that the spring doesn't pop backwards. And then we have to get this piece started. Not always easy. And actually it fell off again. So patience is a key. I was told early on as I started working with fishing reels. There's two things you needed to be successful. First was a lot of patience. Second one was a good sense of humor. And I'm not sure which one's more important, but you got to be able to laugh at yourself when you're doing these sometimes, because it is not always going to go your way. All right, I think I may have the one that's going to be the right one for this. If I don't have that, I'm going to have to pause and go get the right one. And I got lucky I had the right ratchet to tie that down. This is how you're operating now. I don't know how that came loose, but it did. So we're okay with that. I'm going to clean this anti-reverse spring off. This is not an easy one to load. As a matter of fact, there's people that send me Olympic reels just because they've talked to people that didn't want to work on the reel because of that spring. I'm going to clean the back of this assembly off. I'm going to use a paper towel. This is nice material, so that's not the issue. You put a little bit of oil into the center of the gear sleeve. This is your back end of the gear sleeve. We'll go in and we'll see what's going on with the washers here. We have the older leather style washers. That's okay as long as they remain flexible. It looks like there's a lot of oil in here, so my guess is that they're remaining flexible. I'm checking the teeth on the main gear. I just noticed that one tooth there had there's something caught in it, and it's quite possible that's why I was getting that little bit of a skip. So it is important to check the gears as you do this. And now let's take a look at these drag washers here. Well, the good news is that they have remained flexible. So we're just going to lube them up a little bit. They are stuck, so they weren't performing optimally. But that's what happens when grease dries out, and it's been a while since this reel has been serviced. I'm just happy we found that anti-reverse spring. That'll make all the difference in the world. So there's some tarnish on these washers. I'm trying to clean them up as best I can. I'm using some steel wool. That'll get the old dried greases off there. And then we'll go back and see what we can do in terms of a reinstall here. So these are flexible, so they can be reused. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to put a little bit of drag washer grease onto each one. I'm going to use my gloved hand as a tool to do that. And we're going to put the first one in. And then you have two round washers with rectangular internals. They're called keyed washers. They're going to go in first and last. And the one in the middle has 2 points on it. It's called an eared washer. And that one's going to go in next. That always goes in the middle of a 6-drag system. And we'll take that last one. We're going to do the same thing again. Get some drag grease on there, roll it around. You don't want to swamp this with too much grease. So what wipes off in your hand is probably the right amount. Okay, we're done with that. Now we want to clean up our pinion gear and the yoke. Do the same thing here. I'm just going to use a paper towel. Doesn't need to be aggressive because it is clean. I'm going to check the same thing here. We're going to check all the teeth on that gear. And here's another case. So I'm thinking that maybe this was the skip because there's just a little bit of dirt lodged in there. And that'll be enough to cause the teeth to skip. It could be that this reel was in storage for a while. And that the grease just kind of settled in one place. And that's what caused the drying out of those drag washers and the little pooling of the grease in this pinion gear. I'm using a fishing reel grease for the maintenance. In this case, I'm using a Penn Precision reel grease. I don't really care too much which brand you use, but I do care that you use a fishing reel grease as your lubrication. Don't use a household grease. It's not going to do anybody any good. It's not designed for marine applications, and it will evaporate or clog or do other things unintentionally, but it will do that because of the properties are not the same as a marine grease. Okay, I'm just cleaning off the shafts of this back end of the spool, and let's go see if we can deal with this little problematic anti-reverse dog. I'm guessing that the last hands in here didn't do it very well because of the way it was misset and the spring off to the side. Okay, push down on your yoke. Bring this around. That's how you set your yoke and springs. and this is called the jack. That's the one that's going to move that in and out for you. That just fell out. Next up then is the bridge assembly. That'll go in next, and you'll rotate that. And this one looks like I'm going to have to put the gear sleeve on to hold this back. This was kind of slipping out to the side. Okay, the dog orientation is going to be this way. The force of the spring needs to push up, and the spring is round. It sits over the screw here. The flat side of the spring rests against the bottom, and the angular part comes underneath the dog, pushing up on the spring. So it kind of looks like this. I'm going to put that spring in first. And we'll get it to the point where it's just tucked under that side plate screw. Got a lot of a balancing act going here. This is the way it works. Now you need to load your dog. Okay, it's not magic, and it took an awful lot of time. The camera was off, and I finally got it caught, and I just want to show you the end result. So we put it on, put the spring on here, loaded the dog behind it, flat bar below, and it's hard to see, but the pressure part of the spring loaded is underneath the shoulder here. And now I'm just going to stabilize this by putting the second screw in. And then I'll be able to take some of the pressure off of this and work a little bit more towards that. I did notice while I was doing this that all 4 side plate screws are the same, so I'm going to just complete the bridge right now. I'm holding tension on this adjuster here just because I don't want that dog to work backwards under the gap of the bridge screw. We'll get that done, and then we'll go ahead and tighten up the outside there. So these are challenging reels, but they're well made, and there's a lot of fans of the Olympic Dolphins out there. Well, if you like that reel, you'll like this reel because they're the same reel. Basically, I mean, they got blue side plates, Kmart's got red side plates, the Sigma's got black side plates. They're all basically the same. Not a test of truth, does it? Oh, listen to that. We have a functional anti-reverse dog. So we have a functional spring for the release and a functional anti-reverse dog. I couldn't be happier. All right, we're just going to make sure that I keep that all in place now by putting in the collar here for that star adjuster. Star adjuster on before we go much further. This one was a challenge, and I apologize if you didn't see it all. I think you probably saw the concept of it. I know that when I was off camera there, unfortunately, when I finally got it to stick, it was one of those take a deep breath, be happy that you got it to stick, and unfortunately just tell everybody what you did, because it took me a good 10 minutes to kind of get it set up the right way. Alright, now we're tight. Now this wheel should spin nicely with that anti-reverse, which it does. This side's done. So I'm just going to go ahead over here. There's one piece here that I want to probably remove, I'm thinking, so that I can get the worm gear back in. So let's take this out, and we'll lubricate that when it comes out. And I just want to check the side plate. I saw something in there before logging around. I guess I got it with the Q-tip. I don't see that any longer. Everything here can be serviced from the outside. Those are 2 metal gears in there. Most folks always ask me, why don't they put 2 metal gears in the drive? Well, what happens there usually is that if a reel snags up, you want a fail-safe, and the fail-safe is a plastic gear for the idler gear, which is this one here in the main. A lot of times that idler gear, most of the time now, that idler gear is made of plastic so that you don't ruin the line guide mechanism should you snag. In this case, they went with two metals. That's okay. Just be aware that that is the down line or the compromise you make if and when you do get snagged up. All right, we're going to grab this now, put the side plate back on. Overall, very nice reel, and you'll see now, and you'll hear now, that we have a functional anti-reverse, and we have a functional free spool pulling that pinion gear in and out. Okay, I'm going to grab that spool then. I've greased the back bearing. Just put a little bit of grease on the spool shaft, do that on both sides. All right, let's seat the spool. Next up then is a little bit of a service on the pull mechanism. Just want to make sure it's working, which it is. Remember, we had a little snag there, but I'm thinking now that, again, in storage, this probably just sat around. Grease found the low point, kind of lodged in there, and caused the issue. A little drop of oil into the pull cap. Checking the pull. And make sure that the pole is even on both sides. This would be very hard to find a replacement pole for. Looks good. It's clean in the alleyways. I'm going to go back and just reinstall that. This is easier to do off the reel, so that's why I'm doing it here. And then you have to play around with it to make sure that the cap is tight and that the pole is properly seated. So that takes a little time. A little bit of hit and miss kind of going, but eventually just a little short tightening that'll reset the teeth, and then eventually you do get it. Just takes a while. So while I'm doing this, if you have a reel like Evan that needs a repair or service, and you would like me to do that for you if you're not up for doing it yourself, if you contact me on email, that's the best way to reach me. I'll be happy to provide you with that service information. I oil worm gears. I don't grease them. I believe grease is a trap for the dirt, and the last thing you want to do is get stuck with that. All right, this is our worm drive then. We're going to grab our shield. There's two sides to the shield, a long side and a short side. The long side goes forward, the short side goes to the back. And we'll go about trying to set that up first. This worm gear normally can be set after you assemble the reel, so I just like to get this thing started. I'll put one screw into the back side plate here, just to hold that side plate. I don't want to tighten it down, I just want to get a turn in there. Because once I grab that shield and get that set, I'll want to finish the rest of them right now. Visually, you just got to find it. Now we can grab the long side out, find the two holes in each position. There's black on. Once you have that line guide in, you can snake in the assembly, and then you want to come over to this side, put a little bit of grease into that bearing cap. And then we can install that. So this one's got an interesting little approach to that line guide. That's why I was off camera for a moment. I was off camera with the spring, and now I was off camera with the line guide. Most of the time the line guides have the short side facing the back of the reel. In this case it has the short side facing the front of the reel. Alright, now we can tighten down those set screws that we used to hold the side plate in position, and we can pretty much get ready for a test here. So a lot of issues with this reel, but it doesn't mean it didn't have a second chance. It is one that was built to last, and it's lasting. The black kind of hides all of the cosmetic issues from the reel from time to time. There is some scarring on there, but that's okay. I mean, this is a survivor reel. issue getting this one started. The short screws go in the reel seat. That's what I'm working on right now. Get the other one in here on this side. A little bit nervous, as I always am when it comes to making that final test. I think we got it. That dog is the big issue on the Olympic reels, and if you can know the principle behind it and have a lot of patience, you will eventually get it. For whatever reason, that one's not quite lining up here. I use a center punch just to make sure that we're in the right position. There we go. I think I just heard it kind of get set there. Sometimes not. We got it this time. All right. Can't wait to give this one a run, see how it does. I'm sure it'll perform nicely. Okay, all the screws are in. Tighten down on this one. Oh, look at this. Before we even put the handle on. Beautiful. All right. Handle. Handle screw. This one uses the pen wrench, so you don't have to go out and buy a new wrench if you're working on one of these reels. And if you're working on a reel and you don't have the wrench, you don't have to run out and buy the wrench either. You can use a channel lock pliers, pump pliers, whatever you might call them. Just grab it gently on the outside. Make sure you don't scar the handle. But don't go out and buy all the money for one-time use. This is a channel lock plier. Just kind of set it to the right dimensions. Find where you can get the two hooks into each side of it, and just gently. You might want to put some electric tape on both sides before you start that, but that'll get you going. Look at this. What a beautifully functioning reel. A little tight on the worm gear still, but we have an anti-reverse. And there we go. Maybe we'll just clear it out a little bit of dirt in the channel there. And of course we had a weak or non-existent free spool release. Now we have that spinning free spool release as well. Okay, so that's it. That's your Shakespeare Sigma 2950-245. I'm going to assume the 245 is probably a measure of the spool capacity, and made by Olympic, I'm certain of that, and mid-70s to 80s. Beautiful reel. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, please like it. Again, if you want to see more, please subscribe. To everybody, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.